Welcome to the show. Today's topic is ending the reincarnation process. Before we get started with that, I want to say hello to our listeners in Anchorage, Alaska. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you showing up week after week. We see you on our stats and are happy to have you here. So Roz and I were just talking about this whole reincarnation thing. Roz, did you believe in reincarnation pretty early in life?
I think, I think back to when I was a kid, and I don't really think I was into it then because, I just didn't think that big and that far ahead. But certainly when I, got into my late teens, I started to really analyze things a lot. And that's when I started to think, if you don't get this right, hey, you better wake up and smell the coffee and figure out that, we have a duty. I mean, we have literally I always call it my job from God. I have things I'm supposed to be doing while I'm here.
100%. Absolutely. I never thought about it, but I was raised Catholic, and I've mentioned my family's very conservative. And so this was not discussed. There was nothing like that discussed for me. However, I had repetitive dreams hundreds of times as a young child about two lifetimes. I just didn't know what it meant. One, I was a man in both of them. One was about my death in a tidal wave. And the other one was I was a Hispanic man, I like up on top of this mountain out in like desert terrain, wearing a serape and trying to pull a donkey. The donkey was sitting and wouldn't get up, and I've got a rope and I'm trying to pull that donkey over and over and over and over and over. And I just thought it was weird. But what made me really think about it is when my daughter was 4 years old, and I, being a horrible mother, told her she had to clean up her bedroom, and I was helping her. And she looks up at me, puts her hands on her hips. When I was your mother, I was much nicer to you. And I was telling her grandmother, at that time, my husband's mother, Carolyn, about that. And she laughed and she said, well, when her father was 2, he had a similar incident, and he did the same thing. He spread his legs, put his hands on his hips, and said, when I was Louis the 14th, nobody told me what to do. What 2-year-old knows about Louis the 14th? So those things combined, I was 24, and those two things combined made me really start thinking about those dreams I had as a young child, and looking into it and reading books on the subject. And then other people were telling me about their experiences, and it's just been pretty mind-blowing, some of the things that people have told me about and showed me some evidence on their body, like signs on their body of a death from a past life, and just people that they met in this lifetime that they knew from their last lifetime. Just there's a lot. So it makes you wonder, despite, what's that thing? If you refuse to believe something despite all the evidence put before you, that's not really sanity to be. You have to look at the evidence. And so the evidence can make you broaden your ideas on things. And I'm saying this because I know a lot of you listening do not believe in reincarnation. I'm sure there's some of you that are very adamant that it doesn't exist. Isn't in your belief system, and that's okay. So hopefully you can just listen to this show and absorb it, and you don't have to make it part of your life. We're not here to change your thought process or your belief system. We're just presenting information. And Roz, tell us what you were saying before the show about your thoughts on reincarnation, about coming back.
I've always, even when I was pretty young, thought, this is hard. Why is this hard? This shouldn't be hard. So I'm not going to have to do this over. And I actually was raised pretty conservative, Christian values, Southern Bible Belt, you know. So reincarnation was never even discussed that I can ever remember. But I do remember seeing some books. I had kind of an unusual gift for reading, I would say, because, I was in still in elementary school, and I was reading at a high school level. And so, and my comprehension was good. I understood what I was reading. And I do remember reading some things about people coming back and, thinking to myself, I'm not coming back here. I don't want to do this again. No, this isn't fun. And like you, I had, kind of a voice gift. So I actually started singing professionally when I was in 5th grade. And I just happened to audition for this very large opera that went on in the summer. And they put on all types of different shows. Well, I performed in a summer presentation of The Wizard of Oz. And when you really, I was in 5th grade. But when you think about The Wizard of Oz, there are aspects in that kind of hint a little bit, about Dorothy, where Dorothy's going and what's going on, and the witch, and et cetera, et cetera. And I can remember, thinking, yeah, here's this kid, she's growing up on a farm. All of a sudden she's sucked up in the air and ends up in this very amazing, miraculous kind of place. And there's a lot of stuff in that story that when you look at it from a perspective of re-experiencing your life and all of those things, it knocks on the door.
I have to say, there's things in that movie that now that I've seen what the afterlife looks like, I think back to Wizard of Oz, and there's scenes in there that are very similar to what the afterlife looks like. Oz, the land of Oz is very similar, the vivid colors. But anyway, that's another story altogether.
That is another story, but it does lend itself to the thought of, okay, different lifetimes, different situations. Hey, this
I was telling you that so many people keep telling me, especially other readers, healers, light workers, are saying, I don't want to come back here. It's too hard. Well, yeah, right now it's extremely dense energy around the planet, and it's very hard to be here right now. And I'd give myself a pep talk, but this is why you are here right now, because it's so dense, because the energy's so dense. This is why you're here. This is why we're all needed. So, wishing ourselves away, wishing it was over. We volunteered to be here, but that's another story. So we volunteered to be here. And maybe some of us, maybe a lot of us light workers didn't have to reincarnate. There's a very good chance, because we're superheroes on the other side. Our higher selves are like, yes, oh, it's going to be horrible. There's going to be lots of challenges and shortages and violence and hatred. Yes, and I'll go. We don't think about what it's going to be like again to be in human form. Maybe we forgot. Maybe some of us have never been in human form before. I don't know, but there's a lot of people who are here for the reason right now to help, who are just wanting to get out of here. So we need to talk about this, because I think we can waste a whole lot of our time and energy saying we're never coming back again, but let's put our focus into being here and completing our mission. I think that's important. And so why do we keep coming back? Why do we reincarnate? What's your thoughts on that, Roz?
I really think it's all about having a duty chore list, if you want to call it that, and accomplishing those things that are on that list. and accomplishing them well, not just, mediocrely. I mean, you have to, and I think you have to really analyze your willingness to really commit and do a good job. And that's a huge determining factor to me as to whether or not we're going to be sent back, quote unquote.
Or we're going to say, I want to go back. But I do believe in the life review. Like when we cross, I do believe there's a life review. So many spirits talk about it. But I don't think it's what some religions say it is, where it's like, now we're going to decide where you go, heaven or hell. No, it's, were you successful? Did you learn your lessons? Did you become a better person? Did you become a more radiant spirit? Have you improved yourself? Have you learned some valuable lessons? And if not, then it's going to be a new discussion, right? It's not going to be you were a sinner, you failed. It's going to be, you need to learn that. What kind of situation can I put myself in that would help me learn it when I couldn't learn it in this last go round? And so maybe the circumstances get more dire to help us learn that lesson, to make, like, put it right in our face. So to me, every time we have a problem with a recurring problem, whether it's with a person or a cycle, I like to call it like toxic relationships or money issues. You're always having money issues, whatever it may be. Why is that happening? And what are your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts about love? What are your thoughts about people? What are your thoughts about money, your relationship with money? Because the things that are our challenges are why we're here.
Well, and, I feel like that's all completely true. But the other thing is, it's about your intention and your attitude when you're doing your work. We all have kind of like spells, I guess, that we go through, periods of time where we are not highly motivated. We're not, I'm the person who had to be dragged back to where I am, kicking, screaming, and by the hair, literally
To Sedona, you mean?
Yes, everything aligned in my life. And I really had no choice. And even when I was on my way here, and even, to return here, and then to be saying to myself, okay, I'm not staying. I'm not going to be here decades again. I'm only going to get what I have to do done, and then I'm out of here. Of course it
didn't.
Of course it didn't go that way.
7 to 8 years that I'm aware of that you've been back.
True. And other things happen, in our lives as a result of you making that decision to come here to do the work that you, in my case, did not finish the first time. And there was absolutely no question of that's what the information I was being told. Hey, you didn't finish. You got to go back.
So
we're going to give you this reason.
Kind of like we talk about that whole thing of you can't just decide you're going to leave this. I'm done. Your angels will let you know when you're done. And if you're not done, they're going to bring you back again and again. And I take that to how hard I fought my psychic gifts, my spiritual gifts. I wanted nothing to do with that professionally. I really didn't explore it for a very long time. And my angels kept putting it right in my face and talking to me about it and bringing these people in front of me who were like, oh, you're a very gifted channel. It's like, oh my gosh. People who didn't know me at all. So if you're meant to do something, you just might as well figure you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it. It's part of your mission. And so part of that whole thing, I've been talking to some of my light worker clients about this, is every light worker has an underlying mission. And for some, it's their soul mission of just how they affect the world and other people as they go about their daily life, just with their energy that they carry, their light that they carry, their frequency, and how that uplifts others, affects others in a positive way. And so, while we're out there like, oh my gosh, what's my life purpose? You're already doing at least one of them, just existing. So, that's something to be aware of. So you're not lost in that. Maybe that is your sole focus. Maybe that is why you're here. But as far as reincarnation, I've done a ton of research on this, and I have to tell you folks, I don't see a shortcut. I do not see a way to just say, done, time out, nope, done, no, I'm not coming back again. Because you don't get to make that decision. Your higher self and your angels make it. And God makes it.
Yeah. And that, that brings us back to, the life review. Did you accomplish your chores? Did you accomplish your agenda? And it's interesting because in the past few years, there have been quite a few books that have come out from documenting young children knowing, these are little kids like 4, 5, 6 who see themselves in this previous life and who see what transpired then. And they remember with amazing accuracy who they were, what they were doing, what their mission, quote unquote, was at the time,
who they were married to, and then they know them by name and where they live, and can go take their family to the village and identify that person and talk about the life they had. I mean, there's more and more and more of this happening, which I think is just part of that generation of children coming in who are just that much more aware of themselves on a higher spiritual level. It's pretty mind-blowing. But as far as like just making a decision that you're not going to reincarnate anymore, that's you in human form, thinking like a human, not your higher self. Your higher self would say, it's been a really rough life, but look at how much you've learned. Look at how strong you got. Look at how far you came, how many cycles you broke, your realizations you had about yourself and your life. That was a really successful life. And when you're on the other side, you're going to think like that. And you're going to look at your lifetime and you're going to see those things. You're going to be completely like shed of what you went through in a human, as far as the human experience, but spiritually, I think the rough lives are the ones where we progress the furthest if we do what we're supposed to do. If you sink into the mire and let's say you're raised with violence and you also grow up and decide to be violent, then you're going to have to come up with a different lifetime that might be just as difficult or more difficult and different to help you not do that. But being a human has many, many distractions, doesn't it? Sex, entertainment, TV, socializing, drinking, drugs, all of the things that humans can get involved in, making money and possessing things, and all these things that are 3D trappings. And it's okay, you're supposed to enjoy your human life. But if you took a road and you went too far into one of those areas for too long, it may side rail you from why you decided to come into this lifetime. Because I really do think it blows the mind. But I think we really do choose our parents. And especially it seems like babies choose their mother more than their father. But there's often babies who coming in now who remember choosing their parents, looking and going, I want them to be my parents. So you chose them, which means you did that when you were in your higher self. And so your higher self knew what it was doing. giving you those parents, and maybe it was a hellish upraising, but what did you learn from it? What did you become a kinder person? Did you develop compassion and empathy because you didn't get it growing up? What did it give you, a realization? What did it do? Because you can bet that you learned lessons, you were changed by your experience. You just have to make sure that overall you may get sidetracked by all the distractions in human life, but you have to mostly focus on, why are you here? I like to say every day, God, help me be a better person today than I was yesterday. And at night I say, help me be a better person tomorrow than I was today, because I want to improve. I want to improve on how I think, how I act, how I react. I want to be better. And so it really comes down to that. Roz, you post something on Facebook kind of regularly about the golden rule and how it's so simple, but it's so true. And that's really what it comes down to. Treating others as you would have them treat you. And that doesn't just mean the people that you like and love and know and care about. It means all mankind, treating them as you would like to be treated. It is a simple thing, but God said that. And I think it's a pretty big one that people tend to miss out on. They tend to forget about that. So I'm glad you post that.
It's a big thing to undertake, really, because it's at the core of how we treat others. It's at the very core of our humanity, our desire to do good works, our motivations, and our perceptions about how we see things. And it's interesting because I feel like when you have that as one of your core focuses, and I use that also, I use that as an affirmation, let me be focused and paying attention enough that truly in my heart, I am always doing hopefully the best for everyone and helping them as much as I can help them, and having that intention of living by that golden rule. It sounds good, but when you really get into the nitty gritty of it, it requires a huge commitment. And, none of us are perfect. And, I'm always working, I'm always doing autocorrect on myself. And, it's funny because we all have days that are very difficult to stay on task, to stay focused on the things that we know we should be working on.
I was thinking about that this morning, that, I think people have a misconception that, and I don't just mean Roz and I, but I mean people who are spiritual teachers, spiritual leaders, that they have it together. They always have it. They've learned everything. No, we're catch ourselves doing stuff we don't want to do, that we're not proud of. And we catch ourselves and try to, then, like, you autocorrect is a great way to put it. You apologize, you try to make it right. You fix things as best you can. And then most importantly, going forward, you avoid that again.
Yeah.
You want to avoid repeating the behavior or the action.
And that, to me, is a really crucial aspect of retaining your focus and trying to do good works. Always, constantly, consistently, with your intention of achieving, positive results. So, it's really good in theory that you're going to be able to pull that off. But since none of us are perfect, it's a difficult task.
No, we're not saints. We are very tuned into these things, and we are very conscious of what we do and think and say. And I think it's about coming to a place where you catch yourself quickly, and you don't block from realizing you made a mistake, and admitting it to yourself. That's important too. So the best thing you can do, like we were talking, I don't want to forget to mention this because we're just talking about it, that the golden rule for people, Ross said it's hard to achieve in reality. And I think that comes down to you really need to be uplifted to the fifth dimension before you really experience unconditional love. And it's not just for the people already in your life, but all mankind, where you can look at people in a country you've never been to, you'll probably never meet, and feel such huge compassion for them, for what they're going through, and want to do whatever you can to help. There's a lot of that that's been evidenced during the war in Ukraine, things that are going on in other countries, atrocities, and kind people trying to help them, trying to get money and supplies to them as best they can, and offering shelter and support for them. But in order to reach that point, you've got to raise your frequency to a point where you can live in the fifth dimension. And then unconditional love is easier for you. I think living in the fifth dimension, and that doesn't mean completely untethered from reality. It's just experiencing reality in a different way. But it allows you to better complete your mission here, to learn what you're here to learn. The faster you do that, this is the reality. And I'm sorry to tell you this. I'm sorry for all of us, because I didn't like the answer either. There is no cheat sheet. There's no unknown little code you can enter that will help you not have to come back again. It is about learning your lessons as quickly as you can, as thoroughly as you can, loving as much as you can, everyone, loving and treating people well. And you're going to come back because there's going to be other lessons. But when it's deemed by God and your angels and your higher self that you've learned all you can, then you're an ascended master. Then you can never have to come back again. And that's the truth. And so I think that it's a waste of time for us to, we can say it as like a little relief valve. Oh, I don't want to come back anymore. It's venting, spiritual venting. But don't put a lot of energy into it. Anything else you have to add to that, Roz?
I just think that we have to take a really strong approach to keeping ourselves aware and on task. And I feel like, I always say to people, and this is really true, that when I'm saying my prayers and affirmations in the morning, I always say, please send me the people that need my help today, and let me be of service, and let me receive whatever information I need to be conveying to them. Because, this isn't me. I mean, it's me, but it's not. I'm, channeling, bringing in information that's being sent to people. And it's my job, quote unquote, to have always the intention of doing good works. So
I always like that saying so much, Roz. I adopted it. I say that in the morning too. I think it's really good.
Very helpful. I think
too.
it's very helpful to always remind yourself, this is my purpose here. This is my job from God.
And that's not just light workers. That's every one of you out there listening and watching the show. Every one of you this applies to. You're here for a reason. You're not just reincarnating for the fun of it. Your spiritual side, your higher self is after achieving that you learn some lessons, you end cycles, you have realizations, you become better personally and spiritually. And it really is all about spiritually. I mean, you become better and you become better spiritually.
And it is about our intention of what we know we're supposed to be doing, and our intention to complete that task. So, I mean, taking it back to reincarnation, absolutely, there's a lot of times when I've certainly said, I'm not coming back here, I think there's a lot of us who are saying that.
Vent it, Roz.
That's
I
like
hear that and I know
this
the
time.
truth. I hear myself say it and I know I'm just venting. I know that. I know I don't. My higher self thinks very differently than my human self.
Yeah. Because it's all about your priorities and your purpose. And if at that time I'm told that I have to come back because I blew it and I didn't finish. And that has to be a part of it too. That I know there's things we're here to accomplish, and those things are important.
It's very important to just kind of a last thought on this. If you want to make sure that you learn as much as possible in this lifetime, really think about your priorities. What are your priorities? Where are you spending the majority of your time and energy? And that, if it's not mostly on your spiritual life and people, then you've gone a little astray. If it's mostly about work and making money, and if it's about hedonistic pleasures, and there's nothing wrong, you can have some hedonistic pleasures, but if it's mostly about pleasures, then you're stuck in the third dimension and it's holding you back. And if you've been blessed and you've made a lot of money, what are you doing with that money? What are you doing? Are you accumulating more things? Are you getting 7 houses and vacation homes and boats and cars? Or are you making sure your needs are met adequately and then spreading that wealth and helping people? What are you doing with that excess money? Because if you're not using it to help others, you've gone off track. So just this is just some examples. There's many examples, and I've caught myself going off track in the past. Haven't we all? I mean, my goodness, haven't we all? Isn't that just part of the human experience? But you catch yourself. And so you can't know you're doing it if you don't take the time to really reflect on your life now, your whole life, and what you really want spiritually. What is it you want out of this? So if you're thinking regularly you don't want to come back again, that would be my recommendation to put some energy into. Do you have a last thought on this, Roz?
No, I agree.
She feels like she said everything that has to be said on this. The
Pretty
sad
much.
news is we don't have a magic bullet for you to get you to not
Pretty much.
reincarnate. I'm so sorry. I wish I could have found something. But I think it's good to know the truth so we can just focus on being the best we can in this lifetime, learning our lessons, breaking cycles, and just know that you chose to be here and you're doing something important, even if you don't know what it is yet. That's true for every one of you. You've been watching the Sedona Soul Sisters show. If you want more information about us or our services, please visit us at sedonasoulsisters.com. Subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss a thing. And tune in next Friday when our topic is spiritual bypassing. If you don't know what that is, just know that it's a good piggyback to today's topic. It'll help you make the most of this lifetime. So in the meantime, we hope you have an enlightening week.